Hi all, I am Sham. Welcome to Cryptonite. I have Dr. Tejasvi with me, joining us from Switzerland. Hi Tejasvi, welcome to Cryptonite.
Hey Sham, thanks as ever. Apologies to our listeners. We kind of skipped a couple of months while the election fever was building up in the US. Uh, and I guess that's kind of where we'll start first. I guess.
Yeah, so ever since Donald Trump, was anointed the leader of the free world, uh, everything from stocks to cryptos and gold, everything has been on a non-stop rally. And crypto, especially because it is widely expected that this administration is going to be crypto friendly. So Tejasvi, can you walk us through what does being crypto friendly mean and why is it such a big deal right now?
Yeah, I can do that. It's actually there is a multi kind of parameter answer to that. So one of the crypto friendliness, the obvious ones comes from the fact that Trump himself has publicly spoken in Bitcoin conferences. He has launched a shitcoin himself. It's called World Liberty Financial. If people want to look it up, it did not do too well, but it's there anyway. It has his blessings, and I guess Eric Trump or Baron Trump or one of his children was involved in it quite a bit. So there is Trump's direct involvement in cryptocurrencies, like unlike Biden or Kamala Harris or anybody else who had like kind of no statements about cryptocurrencies in general. And whenever they spoke about it, they would speak about it as if it's criminal or money laundering or drugs or whatever it is. Trump, on the other hand, has made a kind of Trump-like statements, typically like very braggish and kind of stupid at some level, saying that all the bitcoins will be mined in the US and whatever things like that, which are practically not possible, and he probably doesn't know what Bitcoin mining is. But it's all like anyway, typical Trump bragging, right? So he does that. So that's one part of it. But there is a deeper, I would say, regulatory slash structural reason why crypto is booming because of the upcoming Trump administration. A couple of them are the crypto lobby, which is a literal lobby, right? Like with a super PAC and a PAC and a bunch of these bunch of money being contributed to political campaigns, did very well. So they ousted a bunch of sitting senators who were kind of hostile to crypto. They got a bunch of lawmakers, as in Congress people and senators, who are like pro crypto into the houses in the US, like wherever the lower house or the upper house. And also, more importantly, they were able to oust Gary Gensler as the CEO, as the SEC chair, the leading. What is the word for it? He's the head of the board or whatever, right? There is a bunch of directors, or what are they called? Commissioners. Yeah, he was the head commissioner of SEC, along with other commissioners, out of which a couple of them were pro crypto, but he was kind of the main commissioner, and he was surprisingly, I would call it anti-crypto, despite having a lot of credentials in the crypto industry, right? So Gary Gensler famously taught a course on Bitcoin in MIT back in 2014 or 2015, or maybe 2016. I might get my years wrong here. He knows the subject really well. I mean, he has absolutely he's not a clueless guy about this. He's very clued in. In fact, I would call it one of the more authoritative figures in the government administration who knows about Bitcoin and crypto very well. Despite that, he took a very hostile stance. You could call it hostile if you are interested in the larger crypto space. But if you are one of those believers saying that the rest of crypto is like mostly scamming and grifting and shitcoining, and Bitcoin and Ethereum are probably somewhat reasonably decentralized and are commodity-like in some sense, then whatever he did kind of makes sense. But if you are a believer in all of crypto, saying that everything should be free and nothing should be a crime in crypto, then Gary Gensler seemed very hostile, and he was very hostile. He sued a bunch of companies, including Coinbase, Ripple, and a whole other set of other people for listing assets on their platform, which he claimed, or SEC claimed, was unlisted securities. And if you think about it, a lot of them actually look like securities. They walk like securities. They talk like securities. So whether they were securities or not is an open question. But then again, the crypto lobby's counter to this has always been that these people who launch these protocols and the platforms, they ask the SEC for clarity, saying that we want to do this. How do we conform with your laws? And the SEC was kind of very quiet about it. And when they went ahead and did the launches, they would sue them. So it was mostly what they call enforcement by regulation by enforcement, instead of regulation by we could call it publishing standards or whatever it is, right? So this is what the SEC used to be in the last 4 years. And SEC, the chair, Gary Gensler, specifically resigned yesterday, on day before yesterday. He didn't resign, but he said that he will resign on January 20th. He made a public statement, put it up on the SEC.gov site, which was not hacked this time. I don't know whether you guys remember. The SEC.gov site was hacked like a few months back. And it said some, I don't know, some statement which moved the markets a little bit. But then apparently the hacker was caught recently. A completely unrelated topic. Anyways, so this regulatory apparatus will change considerably under Trump, hopefully, which will make all of these assets or tokens or blockchains or whatever they are somewhat legit until proven illegitimate. Right now, it has been that they are illegitimate until proven legitimate. Now the default will flip. So they'll be illegitimate, or they'll be actually legit until they're proven to be like bad, right? And you can apply various standards to figure out whether they're bad or not. But the default will be that they're good. So I think this generally gave a huge tailwind because a lot of entrepreneurs were scared to launch crypto projects in the US, especially allowing US users. And the US users are like the biggest liquidity in some sense. So it was pretty terrible for most projects to geofence all the US users, make sure that US entrepreneurs had to move countries to start things. US VCs were kind of sometimes scared to invest in these startups. So all of these kind of US year, so to speak, was hanging over the industry, and that seems to have lifted kind of in some sense, right? So all the joy of that exuberance or whatever you want to call it is bursting at the seams now. So every token is kind of going up. Some of the meme coins are going completely through the roof. Bitcoin, of course, is the OG coin in the space, and it's almost close to 100K right now. It had a huge rally the day Trump won, and the rally seems to be continuing. It's like, I think it's gained over like, I don't know, $30,000 in the last maybe 3 weeks or so, which is unprecedented, obviously. I mean, Bitcoin kind of went up quite a bit in the COVID time from around 4,000 to like maybe 35,000. So that was a slightly larger kind of run up. But this one seems more significant because it is hitting those mythical levels of 100K per coin and these numbers. So yeah, that's kind of the story with why crypto is doing so well, because the general feeling and exuberance is about regulations becoming friendlier, American geofencing kind of going away, and Coinbase and all these other crypto companies. And Coinbase stock is also doing very well, which is not surprising. Coinbase is a listed company. So yeah, that's also doing very well. So overall, the climate seems to be very pro crypto right now. And there is this one thing that is kind of hanging around in the air, which is called this strategic Bitcoin reserve, which a lot of the lobbyists and influencers are talking about, which is basically like governments accumulating Bitcoin as a kind of a pair asset with gold. So yeah, the central banks always have some gold. Along with the gold, they will also hold some Bitcoin just to kind of keep it balanced or whatever it is, right? So this is, of course, US could do it very easily because US already has some Bitcoin, which are seized by law enforcement agencies across various criminal cases, like with Silk Road or Tornado Cash or whatever it is. When Tornado Cash was not Bitcoin, but similar Bitcoin assets were seized over the last 10 years. So they're all there with the government. They could kind of bootstrap their strategic reserve with these assets. And of course, this will supposedly, again, this is all speculation, obviously, supposedly kind of kickstart an arms race between multiple countries who want to like stack Bitcoin because it's like gold, and they have been kind of ignoring it for a long time. And now they have to like come in quickly because everybody else is coming in. Is the speculation? I don't think it's happening. It's not obvious that it's happening on chain. We don't see any kind of major unknown addresses piling Bitcoin on chain, at least. And of course, we can see all of this on chain transparently to some extent. The only governments we know who definitely have Bitcoin are El Salvador, obviously, which is kind of Bitcoin country, and Bhutan, close to India, right? So Bhutan has a lot of hydropower, and they apparently, like a couple of years ago, decided that their hydropower was being wasted, and they would want to rather mine Bitcoin, and they mined a bunch of Bitcoin and they hold it. So Bhutan, monks in Bhutan and guys in El Salvador are holding Bitcoin in terms of being governments. But otherwise, US, Germany, of course, famously sold Bitcoin in July at, I think, 50,000 euros or something, which was kind of looks stupid in retrospect. But again, they were just doing whatever the law kind of asked them to do, right? They were not trying to make a market call, right? They just said, this is what we are doing, and this is the law, and this is what we'll do. So I really don't blame it, but it just looks funny in retrospect.
Right. So to kind of highlight some of these things to our more recent listeners, SEC, unlike SEBI in India, SEC is only an enforcement agency. It has no rule making power. It can only follow the rules and enforce it. whereas SEBI can do both. It can do both rule making and also enforce those same rules. And in the US, because there is a clear separation between the different branches, the rule making authority rests only with the Congress. Only Congress can say what, if it wants to treat Bitcoin differently, it's up to Congress to kind of pass those laws necessary to tell SEC that, look, um, if there's a company behind something, then yes, those are securities. If it is all like some meme like retardio or some nonsense, it's not a security. So crypto rules apply, and then figure out what those rules are needed. Because one of the things that is funny is uh, this sort of madness had happened before, like what we're seeing in the market, this frenzy of meme coins kind of shooting through the roof. Everybody just out with their gambling pocketbook. It happened during the COVID times, and and the funny thing is it's kind of like getting replayed again. So back then, things happened on the Ethereum chain, and now it is happening on Solana. And some of the old Ethereum diehard fans, kind of completely flabbergasted as to why Solana has completely overtook them and nobody is talking about Ethereum again. And it's kind of funny that so there's a recent instance where I think it was like a 13-year-old boy or 11-year-old boy, I forgot. So he launched a meme coin and he pumped it. So guys fell for it and and bought into it, and he rug pulled them and he made like 30 grand, right? 30,000 US dollars. So people were legit pissed, and they were like, coming after him. They doxed him on Twitter and all that stuff. And then he releases a meme coin saying, "I'm sorry," right? And everybody's like, okay, fine, he's sorry. So they kind of buy that as well. And he goes ahead and rug pulls that again. This time, I think for like 40 grand or something. So it's kind of funny that when you listen about these stories, hear these stories, and you're like, hey, wait, I've heard this before, right? So there were all these, Dogecoin, and Shinai
Shiba
Boo
Inu,
or something.
Shiba Inu, Floki. There was a whole bunch of meme coins that came in the early parts of the COVID times.
Right, and those were all on Ethereum, right? So now it is Solana's time to kind of pump these memes up. And the funny thing is, like, everybody knows it's worthless. It's just a meme. So it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to get out before everybody else is what keeps the roulette wheel spinning, so to speak. So it is both kind of sad to hear, the rationale behind people playing this is basically guys who have given up on, finding like a decent job and, going through the traditional sort of career arc and saying that, look, those things don't work anymore. So I'd rather, just try and make as, take as many shots as possible with these lottery tickets. And if it doesn't work out by the time I'm like 25 or 30 or whatever, then that traditional career path is there anyways, right? So I can
Yeah,
start
this
grinding
is
away on that.
typically also like in some circles called financial nihilism. Like people are like kind of given up on traditional ways of making money, or even generally like leading a more productive life, if you want to call it that. It reflects in crypto in a much more subtle way, which is also like kind of interesting, I think. So in crypto as well, there are so-called useful coins. Like there are tokens which actually have a purpose. Like think of some infrastructure token on Ethereum which does some proving or some verification or some data availability or some technical concept which actually has some meaning in the larger scheme of things. And they have a token because the token is required for governance of that protocol, and the protocol can change its parameters to do something or whatever, right? So ostensibly there's a utility for that token. Then there is pure meme coin, which has absolutely no utility and doesn't even pretend to have utility. Even here in this small space of crypto, which has these two types of tokens, people prefer the meme coins over the utility tokens sometimes, because The utility tokens have a lot of VC investments. So VCs have those tokens, and they have unlocks coming up. Like tokens will get unlocked as vesting continues, and there's a huge wave of supply coming up every so often, and that supply again tanks the market quite a bit, right? Because the VCs will exit and kind of make their own money, and the retail people, or the plebeians in this case, or plebs as they're called, they don't really get to make any money on those. So plebs, which is essentially retail lottery gamblers, so to speak, they've decided that they will not touch any token which has got VC locks, or which has like these kind of waves of supply coming in later. So they will just go with the meme coins, because meme coins, they know, are either they're entirely rug pulls, they're 100% going to go because the guy will just run away with it, or they're entirely legit in the sense that they will just stay forever because nobody cares about the meme. The meme is done and the meme is there. It has its life of its own. Similar to Bitcoin in some sense. Bitcoin was created as a meme coin when there was no idea of a coin, but it was a meme, and the meme creator is gone. So it's kind of this trustworthy idea because everybody knows that it's kind of, it'll not rug you, or there's not some unknown supply coming tomorrow. Unlike, for example, Solana, which has a major unlock coming up in February or March, where a whole bunch of tokens will get unlocked from VCs and insiders and advisors or whoever they are, right? Same with a bunch of these big projects, like, take Celestia or Dimension. Ethereum is somewhat okay because Ethereum's unlocks are not that clear. Like the Ethereum Foundation will sell once in a while, or Vitalik himself might dump once in a while. But these are very known. I mean, we know who these entities are and kind of easy. But some of the other projects, the unlocks are much more tricky. But meme coins have typically no unlocks. They are like just plain gambling tokens. So the purity of the gambling nature of it sometimes appeals to these financial nihilists, so to speak. But again, there is another arc which is coming up, which was kind of interesting. Shiba Inu, the meme coin that you mentioned from the previous cycle. So Shiba Inu is still a thing. They have still like some reasonable top 100 presence in the list. And they are now kind of becoming a more, if you want to say it, this is a stretch. So kind of humor me here. They're kind of going towards a Disney route, right? So they want to do like a more bigger idea. They want to like have like a restaurant, or like they want to have Shiba themed whatever, something else like toys. So Shiba will become a bigger thing than just the Shiba Inu dog. Again, similar to like Mickey Mouse, kind of kickstarting Disney, and then Disney now is a huge empire with whatever, right? I mean, it's not doing that well as it was like 20 years ago, but still it is a huge empire with a lot of other things which kind of all were germinated from this idea of Mickey Mouse being a cute cartoon, so to speak. Shiba Inu is a cute meme, and then it can lead to like a bigger empire, maybe, right? So Shiba Inu has those vision, that kind of vision, which is a possibility. But again, not all meme coins have that possibility. So yeah, it's still, you could spin a positive story to it, or you could just call it pure degenerate gambling on leverage sometimes, and that's how it is. And I mean, again, this is human nature. You really can't do much about
it. Right. So speaking of human nature, so what do you think is the reason behind Ethereum being kind of left out, in this current race?
Yeah, it's been a bit sad to see this. I mean, Ethereum, I don't know whether people have followed the market cycle for the last year or so. Ethereum, though, looks like on dollar terms has kind of gone up a little bit. In Bitcoin terms, it's been kind of going down only, as they call it, right? Which is a bit sad. And there is no like obvious reason why that should be the case. But of course, if we dig a little bit deeper, there is like other comparisons. Like you can look at Solana BTC ratio. So the comparisons to make is between ETH BTC and Sol BTC, right? Which is Bitcoin is kind of going up and taking the rest of the tide with it in terms of crypto. Are the rest of the altcoins keeping up with it, right? It seems that Solana is keeping up or even kind of overtaking a little bit, but Ethereum is not keeping up at all and is in fact going down compared to Bitcoin. Why is that? That trend has to be explained to some extent. And there are many explanations to it. My favorite explanation is that Ethereum is kind of stuck between Bitcoin and Solana in a philosophical sense. So Bitcoin is purely money, purely crypto anarchy or whatever, take the money from the state, whatever. It has its philosophical underpinnings. It has its legends. It has its lores. It has its mythology. It kind of knows where it's coming from. It is very clear. There's no pretending to be something else. Solana is also known to be like completely fast, high performance. They have like one mission to basically put NASDAQ on some blockchain, right? Their own blockchain ideally. So it's very clear what it wants to be. Ethereum, on the other hand, is stuck between this. We want to be smart contracts and kind of do like all the finance things on top, but we also want to be like crypto anarchy and all the philosophical underpinnings of the 20th century cryptography movement the cypherpunks, the idealistic, we want to fuck the government or whatever it is, right? So that dichotomy between the visions is pulling Ethereum on both sides. So they can't become high performance, which will lead to centralization. They don't like that. They also cannot become completely crypto anarchy, because that will alienate all the traditional DeFi, whatever, the finance players. So, I mean, to give you an example, right? There is no equivalent of Tornado Cash on Solana. And for a reason, by the way, because Tornado Cash is a very, it's like radioactive material, right? You really don't want it on your platform. But in Ethereum, there's no way to prevent it from being on your platform. It is there, and you have to live with it. But Solana can kind of see if you can prevent those things from happening. There is a bit of centralized control. There is a foundation which is kind of guarding the whole thing. There is a Solana Labs which controls the release of what software is used in Solana. So there is a bunch of, you can call them company-like properties, which will prevent people from doing this. Of course, Bitcoin is not even capable of doing it, so Bitcoin doesn't even care about it. Ethereum is stuck between this. It's capable of doing it, but it can't prevent radioactive material like Tornado Cash from being deployed on it. So that nature is good, I would argue, philosophically, but it's bad for price action, because you don't get either side of the spectrum. You don't get pure money enthusiasts. You don't get the pure tech enthusiasts who want, like, or finance enthusiasts. You're stuck in this kind of middle of nowhere spot. I think that is my reason why Ethereum is not doing well, and fundamentally will not do well over time, because there are these two kind of pulling forces. There are other, like, auxiliary reasons, given that Ethereum has kind of relinquished some of its execution. Like, smart contracts don't execute on Ethereum anymore, or at least not as much as they used to. They're all offloaded to, like, these next level systems, which are on top of Ethereum. The Base being the biggest one. So Base is what is called a layer 2 system on top of Ethereum, which is run by Coinbase, the centralized company. So what happens is Coinbase gets all the transactions that are sent to Base, and Coinbase will execute it as if it's executing on Ethereum. It'll just simulate it one-to-one. So Coinbase's Base and Ethereum's API are exactly the same. So you simulate all the transactions, then you kind of bundle all of them up and make it like a blob, and you publish this blob on Ethereum as like a final settlement, right? So that's what Coinbase is doing as Base. And this Base now offers cheap fees, better UI, more high performance. It does all of the stuff that Ethereum cannot do, because Ethereum is decentralized and Base is centralized, and all the advantages come with it. And Base is now kind of sucking some of the value from Ethereum in some sense. Of course, it still settles to Ethereum, so that Base cannot actually cheat you. Of course, as a central entity, you can be kind of scared of being cheated. But Base will claim that because they have this kind of tie with Ethereum, they can't cheat you, because they have this settlement that happens every 30 seconds or whatever. So Base is getting some value from Ethereum. There are similar other layer 2 systems which are run by other people. So there is an argument that Ethereum is leaking value to all these other systems on top. Think of it this way, right? When the internet kind of came about, the infrastructure of the internet, which is the network itself, the IP networks, the TCP networks, the internet, the network between the main gateways, the main fiber optic people, the routers, those people did not make that much money. I mean, they made some money in the .com boom, but they kind of eventually gave value to the higher layers of the stack. So the lower layers of the stack typically get some value, but not the most value. The most value is accrued at a higher layer of the stack. And typically what happens eventually is the higher layer of the stack will influence the lower layer. So Google eventually decided to actually contribute back to the lower layers. Google pioneered the quick protocol, HTTP2 protocols, IPv6 protocol. So Google actually contributed a lot back to the lower layers. Same with Facebook and same with a bunch of other people. So value gets accrued at the top layers, and then the bottom layer is kind of either accrues some value or becomes a public good or commodity, right? So Ethereum has the danger of kind of obsoleting itself to becoming like this Cisco of this cycle in some sense. And that is something that the Ethereum people are very afraid of. They want to get the smart contracts back on Ethereum, the volume back on Ethereum, and kind of not go with these so-called layer 2 systems. That debate is happening very strongly now, and it's not resolved yet. Solana, on the other hand, is easy because it's a single system, does all the things in one kind of block of infrastructure, so it works. Bitcoin doesn't even bother doing this, so it works. So Ethereum is stuck, and that's kind of my take on it. A lot of people have different opinions on this. I don't think it's kind of a set and done easy answer, but the markets are saying what the markets are saying, and we have to respect that.
Right. So you do, but most of the DeFi ecosystem exists on Ethereum, right? Or has it migrated to L2s, or has it migrated to Solana? So DeFi is still in Ethereum?
DeFi, a lot of it is in Ethereum because it has a lot of historical effects. Because DeFi is also made up of these liquidity pools, right? So people have put money on DeFi protocols. If it's just an order book where people are doing orders like left and right, and then that order book can move very quickly to some other platform, a liquidity pool set up by like some people and that serves your DeFi platform is harder to move in some sense. There's a lot of stickiness there. And that stickiness has kept a lot of DeFi on Ethereum. But a lot of it has also moved to Base now, or Arbitrum, or some of these Ethereum layer 2 systems. And a lot of it is also moved to Solana now, in the sense that Solana also has a bunch of DeFi protocols that are doing very well. And this whole DeFi, so-called DeFi renaissance is happening now across all the protocols. So Base has something called Aerodrome, which has got this kind of swapping, decentralized exchanging, money markets, and a bunch of things that are kind of doing very well. Solana has Jupiter and Camino and a bunch of these protocols that are doing very well. I mean, the old protocols on Ethereum itself, like Uniswap and folks from the last cycle, Aave, they're still there. They're doing well, but they're not the kind of the flag bearers, or they're not like the number one asset or number one kind of platform to always hit now. You have other options. And if Ethereum kind of sticks around to doing what it's doing right now, that equation might get even worse, where DeFi protocols will start launching on Base or on Solana or somewhere else. Right now, they still kind of launch on ETH and they bridge over to other protocols. But that has changed because, like, for example, the Aerodrome on Base was on Base. It started on Base. It's sticking on Base. So if Base eventually says, we will not settle on Ethereum, we'll settle on Solana, that's how it's going to be. So it's going to be a tricky one. I'm watching this space pretty closely. I don't know how it will shake out.
Right. So I remember, like, early in the day when Solana was still in its nascent stages, right? So very few people actually took it seriously. So it was mostly like, oh, we already have Ethereum, it works, and they're moving to staking. So those fee problems are solved. Why do we need Solana? But Solana did the work, they executed, and it's here. So is there any other emerging L1 that's there on your radar that you think might actually be the fourth player?
So the so-called Solana killers are there. There are many of them. So Ethereum had Ethereum killers, out of which I think Solana is the only one which kind of won in some sense, right? There were other Ethereum killers like Cosmos, Cardano, Avalanche, a bunch of Ethereum killers from the last cycle. They're there, but they're kind of not there in a real sense. So Solana is an Ethereum killer which kind of is there, and it's almost succeeding in the mission. So who are the Solana killers? So there are a bunch of them. Some of them have launched. Some of them are not launched yet. The biggest launched ones are Sui and Aptos. They launched, I think, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. So they're not like super new. Sui, surprisingly or not so surprisingly, had a outage day before yesterday where it was down for like, I don't know, 6 hours or something. What does it mean for a blockchain to be down is an open question. I will ask it in a more provocative way, and I will say that if it has an outage, it means it's not really whatever, decentralized, but whatever it is, right? So Sui and Aptos are the ones which are launched. They have some claim here as Solana killers. But again, the critical thing is Solana was I would call it a 10x or a 15 or 20x improvement over Ethereum. So whatever Ethereum was doing, so here's the deal, right? Let's go back all the way. Bitcoin is a 0 to 1 moment where it actually invented something new altogether. It didn't exist before. But it kind of opened up the idea of what it is. Ethereum kind of took the next logical step in expanding its feature set and capabilities and kind of doing the better version of what Bitcoin could be in some sense. I, as a Bitcoin maxi, will argue against that, but that's a different story. Then Solana improved Ethereum by, like, I would say 15x or 20x, like a full order of magnitude, or maybe a couple of orders of magnitude. But the so-called Solana killers are not the same order of magnitude better than Solana. They're either as good as Solana, maybe worse sometimes. They have different, slightly tweaked feature sets, which are okay, but you could live without them. They are not a serious order of magnitude improvement. And I think that is the difference between the current batch of Solana killers, and they're all in the same league. They're all not 100x better or even 10x better than Solana. And here's the interesting thing, right? Solana was actually 10x better than Ethereum. And all the other ETH killers were not 10x better than ETH. They were like all slightly tweaks of ETH in some sense. They were saying they would do better consensus or better sharding or whatever it is. So I would say the Solana killers I am not as bullish about because they don't seem to offer a 10x improvement on any dimension. So performance is one dimension. you could have 10x improvement on some other dimension, right? Which I don't see happening. So the one which is not launched yet, which is soon to launch, is called Monad. So Monad is got a lot of VC investments, a lot of attention. Like for example, investments have happened in exchanges built on Monad, and Monad itself is not launched yet. So can you like those exchanges already live or whatever? They are like they're taking VC money and stuff. So Monad is a big one. There's another one called Bera Chain, which is also like a bit of a joke, but not quite a joke. So Bera Chain has some interesting improvements over Ethereum and Solana, but I would say none of them are 10x. None of them are orders of magnitude. None of them are like, to use the old cliched phrase, none of them are paradigm shifts in what we know about blockchains.
Got it. So, so it kind of makes sense now as to why, most of the current meme coins are on Solana and not on Ethereum. So I think last time we were discussing some things about, like people trying to meld AI and crypto. So it was initially a joke that 2021 VCs pivoted from crypto to AI, and now they're busy pivoting back from AI to crypto. So
Or
so
why
what
not
is
both?
it?
Why not both?
Yeah, why not both?
No, I think I mean we've discussed this before, maybe a little bit, but I think the story is essentially both are hot sectors, and both are both capture the imagination of the people at some sense. Right? The AI captures the imagination of people. So does crypto, because of its kind of bro culture, or it's fuck you to the government or whatever it is. There are some memes in both of them which are very attractive to people, and why not both? It kind of makes sense. So there are some real innovations happening here, and there are a lot of memetic innovations, so to speak. The most memetic ones are obviously that uh, uh, there are these AI themed meme coins. There are AI investor themed meme coins. There are AI food coins, or whatever you want to call it, AI based coins which have no purpose, just memes. They are all over the place. But then there are AI based purposeful coins. Like one of the obvious ones is, let's say you have an AI task at hand, let's say translating a document or whatever it is. You can give it to Google or DeepL or any of these translation services, but you don't know whether they will store your document or whatever it is. Like, you don't know what they do in the backend. They give you the answer, but it might be like privacy violating or whatever it is you don't like about it. So you could have a decentralized version of this, which is run by a bunch of people who you can invite, open source code. You can see what they're doing, stuff like that. So there was this project called BitTensor, which came up I think last year. So BitTensor basically said we will make one blockchain for each AI task. So you have translation, one blockchain; image recognition, one blockchain; uh, predicting the next word of a sentence, the next blockchain; uh, identifying cancer, another blockchain. So they basically made multiple blockchains. They call them subnets, and each of them basically says, you give us a task, and the AI will give you the answer, and there will be people who will verify that the AI answer is correct. The AI is not like cheating you by just not doing AI but doing random stuff or whatever. And then those people who verify it are also getting rewarded. People who are generating the AI answer are also getting rewarded, and the users are also getting rewarded. Whatever. There's some Ponzi-nomics or Ponzi tokenomics involved in the equation. So that kind of took off a little bit. There were like many subnets launched. I would say 65 or something. They all do AI specific tasks. So this is like a real thing. This is happening to some extent. But again, these AIs are not that strong. They're not that big. They're not as good as ChatGPT or any of these larger AI models. But it's an experiment. It's going on. The idea of launching an AI subnet on BitTensor is governed by the governance token of BitTensor or whatever. So there is some centralization there, but whatever it is. Then there is AI agents. A bunch of these AI agent marketplaces have come up. So you have an AI agent, you wanted to do like book a ticket or whatever it is, and it'll do that book a ticket. You will pay with some token, and there's a marketplace. A better agent will get rewarded better or whatever. These are still, I would say, very niche and very they are not as good as you think they might be. So they're still going on. Again, this is a very hot place to invest money, because you can always extrapolate and see that vision where multiple AI agents are doing things for you, and you are automatically paying them from a crypto wallet or whatever. So VCs, of course, are interested, which kind of makes sense for them. The downside is 1x and the upside is 100x or whatever. So they will take the optionality on any of these deals if the valuation is good. So AI crypto is still hot. AI crypto meme coins are especially hot, but that is, I think, a general idea of memes being hot, right? I had a very interesting crypto moment today, just to give you a meme coin joke. So I searched for, I saw on Twitter that Elon Musk is getting offended apparently that people are calling him Elonia Trump. Like it's like a pun on, it's a pun on Melania Trump, right? Like they call him the first lady or whatever. So Elon Trump so Elon Musk being very sensitive about this, he got offended and he said, "I will block everybody who do this," or whatever, right? So I'm like, okay, Elania Trump is a funny joke, so I'll give it that. So I searched for Elania Trump on Google to see whether some news stories had picked it up. The top 3 links are all meme coins called Elania. It's CoinGecko has a prize for Elania. Coin Market Cap has a prize for Elania. I'm like, when were these launched? Like, of course, they were created like 18 hours ago, 20 hours ago. So a meme happens in the real world, and the meme coins can catch up immediately. So think of being able to trade any sort of cultural phenomenon, right? So if your cultural phenomenon is going to stick around for a while, that cultural phenomenon can be traded now. I think that's what it is. It's human nature to kind of, earlier you used to have bragging rights. Like you knew about Elania Trump because you were hot on Twitter. You kind of were there up. You were catching the cultural wave. Now you can make money with that cultural wave, essentially. That's kind of what it is. And Doge, of course, the original meme coin. And Elon is, of course, doing this whole Department of Government Efficiency in the US, which is called Doge. And till Doge is active in the government realm, the Doge coin will have some cachet because, it's Doge. I find it as crazy and hilarious as you do. It's completely doesn't make sense. We live in a, I don't know, inverted world where up is down, down is up. But hey, who am I to judge?
Right. So, see, the thing is, when you develop quant strategies, it's best to keep an open mind, right? So, you don't know where the money is going to come from. So, in a typical portfolio, and it's true for mutual funds as well. You have like 100x winner that makes up for all the shit calls you made before, and it's true everywhere, right? So one of the things I've been following is numeri, and it's a old concept. So they try to do this with equities and options and all that when they started, and they pivoted hard to crypto. So their whole thing is, they will give they will open source data sets, and obviously these data sets are obfuscated, they're mislabeled or whatever, but the idea is that you're supposed to, like, people can run whatever model they want on this, and they can submit the successful ones to numeri, and if it follows certain numeri sanity checks, they will actually run it on real money. And when they do run it on real money, you get a cut on the PNL that it makes, which is a super cool idea. And it didn't work in TradFi because of regulations, right? So SEC or whatever, even SEBI needs a name to go after if things blow up spectacularly. So that's why I guess they pivoted hard to crypto, and they have this crypto token called Numeri, which basically tracks their this thing, because why not? And it's super. I mean, it's a great idea, but being in India, I have no idea like what the dynamics of actually investing in this Numeri token. What does it actually entail? Does the money actually go into the Numeri pot where it gets traded, or it is just some tracking token that everybody else is gambling on? But the idea in general is super cool, and it's one of the things that I think keeps holding Indian regulators back, because they look at the wild west, anything blue skies thinking that is possible with crypto, and they're like, no way are we going to allow this here. We'll just lose control over everything else. But that being said, there are people I follow on Twitter who actually have the infra to monitor wallets, and and they tag these Solana wallets, with specific meme coins that they hold, and trying to predict when a rug pull might happen, using that information. And there is a specific way to trade these meme coins as well without getting rug pulled, right? So like it's all fun and games as long as it keeps going up. But at some point, the original holder is going to dump, and it might wipe you out. So they have legit like scanners and all those things running that look at wallets, that look at all these things, which is
Yeah,
fascinating from where I.
there are actually platforms. Like one of them is called Arkham Intelligence, which is a great name, I think, because of the Arkham Asylum, right? Obviously. So Arkham Intelligence is a platform, and there are many of them. There is Nansen.ai, there is Token Unlocks, tokenomist.com. There is a bunch of these platforms basically which tag wallets, and the tagging process. Here's the fun part: Arkham has a token of their own. So if you are good at tagging other wallets of other people on other blockchains on the Arkham platform, they will reward you with the Arkham tokens. So that's the kind of their way to incentivize people to actually do the manual labor of actually tracking these wallets and stuff. Arkham is very good at this, or at least the Arkham community of users are exceptionally motivated to like tag these wallets, right? So the Bhutan government's Bitcoin wallet was tagged by Arkham, tagged in Arkham by somebody, and that's how we are able to follow the movement of those tokens, and we see where the mining rewards are going and stuff. So these tools are very useful. People are power users. People know how to exactly exploit what you are saying. They know the trends that are coming up before a rug pull and stuff. So power users are going to dump on gamblers all the time. It's a tale as old as gambling, I guess. So yeah, this is happening, and there are platforms enabling this, which are also doing very well.
Right. And speaking of power users, right? So this, so there are a couple of things that. So we talked about how Bitcoin is nearing 100K, and all of it is not organic flow. It is not like people just woke up and said, okay, I need I need Bitcoin now. Most of it is forced flows. By that I mean, so spot Bitcoin ETF options started trading. So options on the spot Bitcoin ETF. So that compulsorily means that people need to hold some inventory of Bitcoin, either Bitcoin or the Bitcoin ETF, which is one and the same. So there is a sort of I need to do this. I have to do this. So it's not like, okay, let me figure out whether Bitcoin is right for me or not. And the second thing, obviously, is the 80-pound gorilla is that MicroStrategy guy. So the whole thing, like he is just building a Ponzi on top of his company, right? And the best part is, people keep comparing this to Hunt Brothers and the earlier cornering of precious metals from very different guys. But the problem is there was always a needle that would prick that bubble, right? So for Hunt Brothers, it was basically some rumors of central banks kind of stepping in and selling, and then he had not locked in his funding, right? So he was still getting funded in the short-term market. So these things sort of pricked that bubble, but but MicroStrategy has been smart enough to avoid the known unknowns, so to speak. So the debt that they have issued is fixed coupon. They have been issuing equity like crazy. So equity is also kind of like piece of paper, right? Take this, and they're
There was a tweet by somebody said MicroStrategy has exactly 201 million shares of equity till tomorrow.
right, right. So they've been very aggressive at issuing equity and taking all this money and borrowing that and leveraging that up, and then going and buying Bitcoin. So and this thing will continue as long as people are willing to finance his crazy machine over there. So my point is that most of this buying is not organic. It's mostly like MicroStrategy and these options guys and in traditional finance who are supposed to kind of market makers need to hold inventory. So all those kind of bid prices up. Now the question is, what happens when that force flow die up, right? So you have MicroStrategy which currently holds what as a percentage of all mined Bitcoin.
Maybe around 1% or 2%, maybe something like that, maybe.
Right. So if they are ever a forced seller, then you're going to have a big problem where just as rapidly as it has gone up, it can just deflate just as rapidly.
Yeah, so that is a possibility. But here is the thing, right? MicroStrategy's cost basis for Bitcoin is not 100K or whatever it is. So they started accumulating fairly, well, not quite early, but somewhat early. I think their cost basis might be around 25 or 30K. And some of these margin calls against their debt will not happen, or whatever the equivalent action is, will not happen till Bitcoin hits that price. And it's possible, obviously. And MicroStrategy is taking a huge risk in doing this. And also, I think personally, MicroStrategy doing this is also like a bit of a it builds a hero in the space, which we don't want. Ideally, as a concerned kind of enthusiast in the space, I would not want to have heroes. I don't want to have points of failure, which are obviously government confiscatable, so to speak. So yeah, I agree with you. There could be just a bubble burst, which I would prefer ideally. My personal preference would be that Bitcoin drops to 50K or 60K, and then MicroStrategy gets wiped out, and that's the ideal outcome for me, because these kind of punters are not what Bitcoin was made to enable. So yeah, that's kind of my ideal situation, but that might not be the case. Markets could be rational longer. Yeah, so we don't know. Ideally, I share your fears on this.
Right. So so a lot of things happening there, and I think we've just barely scratched the surface. We'll put more things, as links on our newsletter, and hopefully folks can use this as a jumping off point, into their exploration. Although Indian crypto enthusiast scheme, are still shackled by not being able to trade this at any reasonable cost and any reasonable venue. So hopefully, things will open up sooner rather than later. Fingers crossed on that. So Tejasvi, thanks for joining us. And thanks, guys, for tuning into this month's Cryptonite. Hopefully, we'll have one soonish, but I'm not can't make promises on December. So hopefully, sometime mid-Jan is when we can reconnect and push this forward.
Yeah, when Trump takes office, we'll see how the actual appointments happen in all his government cabinets or whatever it is, and we'll see how crypto reacts to that. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. The 2025 is going to be fascinating, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we'll be here to report on that as things bubble up. All right, thank you once again.